Can you walk me through the process of how the government enlisted you and your team?
Well, the government contacted me, the Minister of Defense, and I have to say my immediate reaction, and I assume it's the reaction of many who've looked at this issue, was, well, haven't you just done that? I had in mind the Deschamps report, not quite realizing that it was actually 6 years ago, and there certainly has been a lot, certainly in the public domain, suggesting that it's not quite there yet. So after thinking about it a bit more, I realized that, in fact, this exercise could be the stepping stone towards putting in place, I hope, something that's actually going to work, both at the systemic level and at the dealing with individual cases.
I think you're absolutely right in asking the question that many Canadians have, which is why do we need another report after Madame Deschamps' report back in 2015, a 100-page report. It clearly outlined the scale and scope of the problem. And she had recommendations that some of them weren't followed or taken up. Is your mandate broader, Madame Arbour? How will it be different?
Well, I think to some extent, I think the exercise that she did, if I could put it this way, was a major exercise in diagnosis. And I think it was quite shocking to see the prevalence of misconduct in this heavily sexualized culture. She made recommendations, including the creation of an independent report center. People have a different interpretation or understanding of what independence really means and what it means to be external. Some people may think that just if you're not in the direct chain of command, there's sufficient distance and therefore there should be trust. I think 6 years later, there's certainly a huge concern that whatever has been put in place, whatever initiatives may have been taken internally in the Department of National Defenses and the forces, it doesn't appear to be delivering, both, again, on the basis of individual complaints and allegations and reports. So we have to look, since then, basically, at where are now the barriers to reporting this harassment and inappropriate conduct. When reports are made, what's the adequacy of the response? So that's both in very serious cases, the military justice response. Is it performing? And on that, let me just say, it's not as though we're doing a brilliant job in civilian society in looking at the eradication of sexual harassment in the workplace. But everybody's trying. In this particular subculture, I think it needs a huge amount of effort to put in place the appropriate mechanisms.
Fair enough. And the fact that these issues were pointed out, as you referenced, 6 years ago, yet there's still this culture, or there appears to be this culture within the military, is so disheartening. Are you expecting any resistance when you do your investigation? I'm sure morale is not great in the Canadian Armed Forces at this point.
Well, there's no doubt I'm expecting, and I've been given undertakings of full cooperation. This is a process that will require, I think, a lot of trust and confidential disclosures that I hope will be forthcoming, because I think it's a very serious question. How is it that 6 years later we seem to still be struggling with the same kind of issues? Having said that, I think this time we may be able to get into a much more sort of I don't want to say technical, but much more detailed and concrete set of proposals. For instance, Justice Deschamps, in her report, people don't always pay attention to that. She deplored and made recommendations about the multiplicity of initiatives, programs, and channels, and some are administrative, and some are investigatory, and alternative dispute resolutions. There's a huge amount of initiatives, and in the end, sometimes it makes things considerably worse. That's why she recommended a kind of consolidated center. Somehow, we'll have to find out why it's not delivering, at least not at the level that we're entitled to expect from one of our most important Canadian institution.
Yes. Madame,
I should add that part of my mandate, which I think was not squarely within what she was looking at, is not to assume that reporting of misbehavior and appropriate response in and of itself will be the absolute cure. I think we need to look at what is not just what are the policies, but what's the practice regarding recruitment, training, performance evaluation, and promotion. How do people move up the ranks of a system if there's no appraisal of their contribution to eradicating this toxic culture?
A toxic culture. Just quickly, because I'm out of time, what do you say to women in the military right now, Madame Arbour, or those who aspired to join at one point and who are maybe reconsidering in light of what is a clear lack of leadership or action on this issue?
Well, I think I'll say what's pretty obvious. They've been very patient. And I'm certainly calling on them to say, work with me. This time we really have, I think, to get right down to recommendations. I've been given assurances that this will be implemented. I want to do something that will deliver. I don't want to be discouraged by the fact that a huge effort was made 6 years ago. We're still not there yet. But I say to them, work with me. I'm really determined. I admire those who have managed to come forward, and I fully understand how those who lost faith and hope and decided not to. This cannot continue.
Former Supreme Court Justice and United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Louise Arbour, thank you for your time tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you.